Kanpai! My drink's here. Kanpai!
What?
Oh, I'm professional. I forgot to pick up my drink, okay?
So, welcome one and all to episode 99 of Kanpai Cast. We are 1 week away from our 100th episode.
And we have nothing special planned.
No, we do not.
Well, we do if you know, like, some people, like, bust a gut and smash it out. Just saying. They know what I'm talking about.
Just bust a gut.
How many months has it been?
Indeed. So, for this episode at least, we have finally been browbeaten into submission by Xeno and are covering his long-awaited topic of anime versus manga. Before we begin, just a little housekeeping. Okay? For our first one, join the Discord. Seriously, join the Discord. Regular chat, memes, good old anime vibe. We mean old because we're all old.
Thaylien's waifu addiction, Nasuth's best OPs and endings. Lots of good stuff in there.
Definitely. That's some fun. As for our next, did you know, dear viewers, that last week's episode of Kanpai Cast was the most popular yet? However, Xeno has done his little number crunching and pointed out that 51.1% of all of you watching aren't subscribed. Why not subscribe? Keep up when we release another episode. See if we can do this funny thing for episode 100. But yes, all links are in descriptions. Please come along. We'd really appreciate you, and we'd love to actually have you here for longer. So subscribe for more. As for that, I think it's really time to hand it over to today's dear and
Ringmaster,
much bedraggled topic lead, Xeno.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to play with this a bit more and just, like, you know, hey, should we actually just keep on delaying it? But I thought to myself, you know what? Sometimes people take that too far, and I wanted to, you know, let's you know, no longer beat around the bush. Let's just get on with the titular topic, basically anime versus manga, right? And
so, you will let me see my wife and kids after this?
Of course. What state they're going to be in afterwards, no, I can't guarantee, right? However, right, the whole premise of this is actually originally inspired by a watch session between myself, Nasuth, and Loz, as we are watching an anime that is, like, fairly dear to my heart, which is Magical Spec Ops Oscar, right? Or Magical Girl Spec Ops Oscar, but yeah. And I actually quite enjoy the anime, but
because Laws actually pays attention.
Huh?
But because Laws actually pays attention when we're watching these things.
What's that got to do with anything?
He started catching some problems, some weird things that prompted you to go look up and realize.
No.
Hey.
No. Yeah. That wasn't it.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was that there was a big gap between our watch sessions. We ended up binge watching all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and so on and so forth before we actually continued watching Magical Girl Spec Ops. So I actually got bored and I was like, you know what, I'm going to read the manga. And I read the manga and I was you know, I really enjoyed it and everything. But to my surprise, there were a number of subtle changes between the manga and the anime. And that got me thinking about this topic on a whole. You know, which is, you know, it comes up here and there, like, you know, what is better, the manga or the anime? And we've also had the Chainsaw anime adaptation. We've had a bunch of stuff over the years. And I thought to myself, why not actually make this a proper episode? So the first thing I want to actually talk to you guys about is, what is your stance on the whole anime versus manga internet drama? And I kind of want to start with Nasuth because of you on a whole, like, what your stance is. So do you want to?
Also because of my smug face.
Yes. So I haven't really read any manga, I'll be honest, but I do know That is, but there, and I can. Well, not only do I know tangentially how things have been changed from their manga originals, I can compare this to a Western problem that we often have, where the book is always better than the movie, always 100%. Okay, maybe 98.9%, but basically, it is a good rule of thumb. Book is always better than the movie, and there are reasons for this. There are things that you can do in a book that aren't as easy to replicate in a visual medium, like internal character thoughts, descriptions, and things that you can't otherwise, the viewer might miss out on if it's just visual.
Very subjective. How somebody looks at, say, an old man. What does that look like to the viewer compared to what that would look like to a director? Yeah.
The books evoke an image in your head, whereas the visual medium is giving you a single person's interpretation of it, and they're also limited by just literally what they can do. You can write things into a book that you could never film live action, and might even be difficult to animate. So some of this stuff I can see. Some of it's also cut out for time. A book, it doesn't matter how long it is, really. It could be 1,000 pages and you'll eventually get through it. But a TV series or a movie or whatever is limited by the runtime, et cetera, et cetera. So I can... while I don't think that the animated versions shouldn't exist, I will fully admit that you're going to lose something in the process. You'll gain other things, but you're going to lose something in the process.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a question for you, Nasuth. Because it may be it's actually something that you can is far more recent in the public eye. What about comic books to movies? Because manga is basically comic books from another culture.
Never really read comic books either.
No, but you've seen how more recent movies, they had the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, which was admittedly very different from the comics in many ways. But did these characters look, the same? What did you think was of that difference between the pictures we saw on a page versus the movies we saw?
The shows always looked way more like pleather and shiny in most cases, whereas in the comics they didn't usually have that weird shininess to them. But for the most part, they've usually tried to replicate the style pretty well. The iconic look at the very least.
What about bat nipples?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Are you actually? Right. Okay.
There are times like Superman's new weird suit that looks like it's made out of quilted material or whatever. They did the same thing to the Star Trek uniforms, and it was like, what are you? Just because you have more visual fidelity doesn't mean you need to fill it with garbage.
Which Star Trek uniforms are you talking about?
The ones in the J.J. Abrams remake, where they were all weirdly like patterned and stuff. Although that one was partly because of copyright issues, if I remember, or trademark issues, if I remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So I kind of feel that there's a lot of complexity, and it always depends on the situation given. Right? Sometimes I do prefer the anime adaptation. Other times I'm just like, the manga's better. I think it's always entirely situational, and people do their best to produce whatever work they do. Like personally, I think the Goblin Slayer anime adaptation is so spot on with the Goblin Slayer manga. I can't speak for the light novels, but the manga, it's like so spot on, right? I mean, yes, there is some very subtle changes, but it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Whereas there are some stuff like Full Metal Alchemist where I've never read the...
Sorry, not Chainsaw Man. One Punch Man Season 2.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another one. But again, We have Full Metal Alchemist, where they didn't have enough manga to go on. Yes, the original author was involved, but the divergence in plot was so massive, right? It's just like, I can't imagine that the author was that involved as it has diverted so drastically. So, you know, it's very interesting. I think it's entirely situational.
Could be like the way that the Avatar: The Last Airbenders creators signed on to consult on the live action, and then decided to divorce themselves from the project because the director of that kept going, you know, ways they didn't want to take the series.
Yeah, fucking what's his name?
M. Night Shyamalan.
No.
That's not the same thing. That we don't acknowledge.
Shoot, what's his name? I'm ruining the joke. It's the guy that did Terminator and all. James Cameron.
Yes.
Ruin the joke.
Oh, different Avatar.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
I got it. Okay.
I'm going to bounce off Nasuth's point there, the book versus the film analogy, for my opinion on this one. Because I've gotten so used to the idea that the book is better than the film, the film can't ever really capture the book, that when it comes to manga versus anime, if I start one in one medium, I don't do the other. Usually, by common rule, unless I find it really, I really, really enjoy it, I want to see more, or explore more of what the artist wanted.
The order I always
tell
people to do it in is watch the visual thing first and then read the book, because you'll appreciate it more.
Exactly. So it just depends on which one I get to first. If I'm reading through manga, then I tend not to watch the show, because the show's unless the show is said to be, by other people, said to be a really good representation, like say Komi, then I won't watch the anime, because I'm so I keep finding those differences. I keep nitpicking those differences, and while yes, the higher part of my brain says, "Oh yes, so they did this because of time, or they cut this out because it wouldn't have translated very well to a moving medium." At the same time, I look at, say, Ruby, RWBY. That was obviously a CGI created by Americans, but they actually had an anime produced for it, Ice Kingdom. And in the opening shot of the show, they recreate some of the openings from the original advertising. Like, they show Blake on the train using Gamble Shroud, her sword gun. But in the original show, in the original thing, it's Monty Ohm's animation, and it's full on. She throws it out and tugs on the rope, which fires the gun and launches it back, and she uses that kind of momentum to swing this blade around at extreme speeds. And in the anime, these people obviously didn't get it. They didn't understand how this worked. And so in the animation, it was just dangling off the string and like bouncing around, pointing at somebody and shooting them, and bouncing around the next person and shooting them, with no kind of recoil, nothing of that thing. And I keep finding these when I go from the original thing to what the anime shows. So my lower brain just unga bunga, no, this is wrong. So I like to separate.
Okay.
It's not really a better or worse, just different. And I don't like different.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. I can appreciate not liking different. I mean, this is a whole side of, like, in part gatekeeping. You don't like the changes that are made, and I can appreciate that. At the same time, you might like some of the changes that were made.
Yes.
So I think what I'm gonna do first is I want to open up the floor to pick a show or something where the anime adaptation did an absolutely flawless job of representing the manga. I'm sorry, not flawless, an amazing job, because I think flawless is impossible. I don't think there's anything out there that there is a complete one-to-one between manga and anime.
Yeah, not even Excel Saga.
Yeah. Well, I think I mentioned Komi earlier, and that's what I'm going to hold up, because I really liked the way that when I'd watched the show, I then went and looked at the anime and found that I went to look back at the manga and found that, yes, they had really captured these characters for me. They'd really got these the expressions and situations. I mean, yes, they did rely a lot more on the still shots with very minimal animation to make it look like the original manga. You know, they just panned over the character with maybe sound effects coming out of them to get that. But scenes like this one in the first episode, they got the mood of that scene completely right. Okay? Even though they had more animation in there, more movement, and far more panning across the chalkboard, they got what the manga was trying to say as good as it's going to get.
Would you say that's easier with something like Komi, that's a slice of life, compared to something like I don't know, Berserk or Chainsaw Man, or where?
I wouldn't say it's because of the genre.
Okay.
I'd say because it's the drawing style.
I actually argue it's because of the dedication to the work, right? Because, like, look at how, to pivot this oh so slightly, look at One Punch Man. This is a perfect example of the quality of the work being produced, where the first season, which is done by Madhouse,
yes,
they go to so much effort to replicate the different pages of the manga,
yes,
where in season 2 they just don't, right?
I want to modify that a little bit, but go on.
Well, I mean, like, the big thing with season 1 is, they add in the extra detail and flaring that you won't see in the manga.
Yes.
But the anime needs it, right? This is something
Absolutely.
I want to get to in a short bit with the comparison between Chainsaw Man and its manga. But again, look at that baseball bat. This is season 2. Look at that baseball bat. What is that?
Oh, that's
right?
A baseball bat? I thought it was a machete.
No, because this is the character Metal Bat.
Right.
Yeah, this is the character. And he's holding that pose, right? So that's a stationary pose. And it's all about, like, the dedication. Again, this is season 2. And, like, look how flat Saitama's face is, right?
Why Gino's head so small?
What?
Why Gino's head so small?
Again, it just feels off. There's so much of this that feels off. And I can imagine a lot of it comes down to crunch time. It's like making sure that the
or director decisions, as seen in Shield Hero Season 2.
Yeah, well, we believe that to be director's decisions. Remember, we have no insight.
That's true.
We're making this shit up as we go along.
So, I do want to point out this modification I wanted to add, okay, which is that One, as a mangaka, has a very, very 6-year-old with crayons style.
Yeah.
Yes. And the who is the guy that actually draws the high quality manga?
I'm not entirely sure. I assume
so there is for official releases.
Yeah.
they have another artist go over and redraw his work in the style that people see in season 1 of the anime.
He was the author behind Ice Shield 21, if I remember.
So this man draws in a way that is absolutely, to me, it's perfect character representation for this insane world that one creates. When he creates, say, a character that is obsessed with fitness and wants, and wins gold medals and things, they actually look like they're athletic. They look like they're not just waifu bait. Some of them are. Some of the characters definitely are waifu material.
Definitely.
Yeah, like there's the most recent chapter with one of the swordswomen. That's peak waifu material. But they'll get the athletic girl that her A rank special abilities come from her dedication to athletics. And she's definitely built like an athlete. She has the musculature. She has the thing, the mindset. And yet, for the absolute best reasons, they still bring in some of one's original artwork. Recently, in the manga, there was a thing where Tornado of Terror, Tsubaki, actually got annoyed and tried to take on Saitama. And during their fight, there's a moment where he lands on the building in front of King to turn around and escape from her. And he says, "Oh, hey, did you come over to play games? I can't right now, I've got the thing to do," and leaps off. Just before Tsubaki arrives, feet first, to try and kick where he was, and lands on the wall. And you get these panel by panel slow-mo of her skirt fluttering up, and King, his eyes glued on that skirt line fluttering up. But for the moment that she lands on the wall, they switch back to one's original gremlin Tsubaki stamping onto the wall in absolutely no sexual terms whatsoever. And you can see that she's actually wearing panties in that shot. And then she flies off again in fully rendered, perfect manga artwork.
It's all about the tone.
With her skirt down again. But and King just looks off and says, "Saw her panties." And it's those comedic switches back into one's gremlin mode that make that manga absolutely brilliant. And in season 1 of One Punch Man, they did that. The way he switches back to his okay face is peak 1. And the fact that they took the time, as you said, the dedication and to quality, and kept those in there for the anime as well, it shows they actually respect the material.
Like, looking at this right now, again, season 2, there's just something off about it. I don't know if it's Genos's hair. I don't know if the fact that the shading is just monotone. I don't know.
Could be.
But it just doesn't feel like it has the same depth, the same perspective that season 1 had. And it could be...
Do you know what I think it is? It's the lack of crosshatch shading.
But
they had a lot of it. They had a lot of pen shading in the first season to match up with the manga. Of actual black line pen shading in the shadows, which gave them more depth.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you see it in that massive Death Fist scene.
Yeah.
It's covered in that. So that's actually there in season 1 more often, but it's not there at all in season 2.
So are we talking about the action lines and things like that, or
no? As in the shadows, when how when they before they put in tone shading on some of the manga, they do occasionally just crosshatch ink lines.
Right.
Let's see if the picture comes
up. I can probably find you an example, but it's there to darken the area further than simple tone shading would in the manga. And they do honour that in much of the anime scenes in season 1. So it actually gives them a much more
drawn,
kind of drawn angle.
Like, to me, to this, the perspective, we have like the gradient shift in the environment. And that to me is enough of a perspective shift to actually give it the feeling of depth. Whereas this is like, there's nothing like that. There's like, Saitama.
There's them in the background.
Yeah, and like they're so distinctly separate. Whereas in the other one, if maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a simple case of like the characters in season 1 are very well integrated into the backgrounds, whereas the characters in season 2 just feel like
slapped on a cell.
Slapped on a cell.
I've just linked you, Xeno, just to. So it's black and white lines.
Oh,
yes.
Right. I see what you mean.
Those.
I see what you mean.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Our audience
Right,
won't, unfortunately, but you see what he means.
Hold on. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to save him as.
Oh no, it's a JPEG.
No, it's. God. Right. 9.
And
then.
I know what part of the wrongness in this image is. The guy's face doesn't feel like it belongs. Not Genos, the other guy doesn't feel like it belongs with the rest of his body.
Yes.
Like one feels like it's CGI almost, while the other is not. And that can, like, we've seen how that can work in stuff like the remake of, oh god, what was the name of that show? Oh no. It was a remake.
What was
it was a remake on Netflix. Spriggan.
Spriggan.
So we've seen how it can work in Spriggan, but they're like it just didn't there. It feels like.
Yep, I agree with you.
If that was I'd have to go back and watch season 2, and I don't really wanna, if I'm honest. Granted, I didn't read the manga, so I don't know how it could have been, but I do know it did not feel as good as season 1.
But yes, that was the thing. Was that season 1 of One Punch Man definitely? I agree with Xeno. It definitely kept that theme from the manga, and they took time, took the energy to do that. And I'm guessing that Xeno's putting that into the assets.
Trying to.
Number 9?
Trying to. Naz is trying to give asset number 9 a go.
Let's see. Number 9. Number 9.
So if you've got
this.
If you've got this full screen, what you can see is like on Saitama's cape behind him.
Yeah.
The sort of tonal shading that Thaylien.
It's
also
not,
on like
it's not tone shading. So that's the thing. Tone shading is where you actually have a grayscale tone that they imprint on for their master. And it's, it is grayscale and it actually does add depth.
Line shade.
But this is actual line shading, where he's used this great trick of following the lines of the actual movement of the object to shade it.
Yeah.
And that's something that Yusuke Murata, that's him. And some of his work is absolutely godlike for the depth of it gets, the force perspectives and things. It's wonderful to look at. And as you can see, like with, I think is this season 1 still, or is it season 2?
This is season 1.
This is season 1. Yeah. And you actually got a little bit of that on the flare-outs from Genos's thing. They actually added extra lines in there to give it a little bit more depth and give it almost texturing. So yeah.
Right, I think we should move forward before we spend
Not
too much on
backwards.
One Punch Man. Yeah.
And upwards, not forwards.
So, I don't know, Nasuth, do you have any questions before we move forward?
No, I'm good.
So, I think as a comparison, I've said One Punch. I've said Goblin Slayer, but I actually want to pivot slightly. I think we still have it in the system. Just want to see. The problem is whether or not it's actually disabled it. I'm gonna kind of sneakishly do it in the back end.
Is this some live action stuff?
It is some live action stuff.
Oh no!
So the one that to me works surprisingly well. Hold on, let me just actually tell you what. I'm just gonna put rename this real. Grab that.
Well, we just to fill a little time. We just talked about one in the news that looks like it's very promising as a live action adaptation, which is my Home Hero, which looks like it might even be better than the anime adaptation.
Oh god, how long has it seen this? I don't think I actually saw the ending.
Nah.
What, of Katana Gatari?
Yes.
This wasn't the one I was.
No, but Katana Gatari, it's one of those shows where it's a brilliant premise. You know, in a world where there are swords of power that they're trying to reclaim from villains, and he's the one guy that's trained to be a unarmed combatant that is able to use swords techniques. So he's basically the anti-swordsman.
Does he want to make sword chucks?
No.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut no one will get.
That's a deep cut. Yeah.
I wonder if 8-bit theater is even still going.
Right.
There we go.
So
Alita Battle Angel.
Oh yeah.
So,
Battle Angel Alita.
Right. So the reason why I want to talk about Alita Battle Angel,
yes,
as well as Battle Angel Alita, right?
Because you have an obsession.
Realistically, no, I don't. Right, is mostly because of the comparison between terms of, which one did it better, right?
Yes.
And
because believe it or not, there were bad things about the anime that Xeno is actually bringing up with that very first image.
Yes. So, I didn't have control over the very first image.
I know.
So, this should cycle through both the actual sets of images, so both the live action and
nice.
The series. But the big thing is that a lot of I've heard loads of people complain, saying that the anime was a better adaptation of the manga than the live action movie, which is a flat out shit ton of bollocks, right?
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Have you read the manga?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So in the original series, the 2-episode OVA, if you will, the character that we first saw, this samurai dude, is actually seen as a masked villain with a bamboo straw hat, and looks nothing like the character as depicted in the live action movie. And in fact, I actually got an asset together for the actual for this episode, and in fact he does actually better depict the character in the live action series than he does in the series.
You shouldn't make an example, or you shouldn't use an example of a good change they made, Xeno. You should use an example of a bad change they made.
What are you talking about?
I think a samurai hat, totally a good change. Great change.
As a shut up. Right?
Stop it.
The fact is, in the anime, they killed off that character straight away.
Yeah.
But he's a recurring character in later parts of the series, right? In the later parts of the manga. But in the anime, they just killed him off straight away. So it's that character's gone. And you could do nothing from that point. All you can do is just say, oh no, that character's not the same as this character.
Well, to be fair, they only had 2 episodes, so they couldn't do a lot of the same stuff anyway.
It seems similar in the movie that they seem to kill him off quite fast, but that's not the case, really, because they actually have progression of time in the movie.
Yes, but not only that, they kind of deal with him exactly the same manner in the movie as they do with him in the series, right? So for all intents and purposes, and this is a little spoilerish, he appears dead, but he isn't actually, right? And he can come back for any sequels, right?
Indeed.
So it's really good how in the live action adaptation they put the care and effort into being accurate, whereas a lot of the time when it comes to live action adaptations, they do the exact opposite.
Oh god, just like the Aeon Flux movie. Ugh.
Well, I can't speak for the original of the Aeon Flux movie. I can, however, speak for the live action first Full Metal Alchemist movie, and that was a travesty.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So again, a lot of the time they do huge sweeping changes. In this, it was so much closer to the manga than the original series. I mean, fuck, the manga, the original series doesn't even include this character, and he's a huge part of it.
Exactly. See, this is the thing that really got me when I saw the movie the first time, is it just made me think, holy hell, James Cameron actually read it and liked it. He didn't just, skim it.
Wait, was it James Cameron?
Thing.
I thought it was. I thought it was Del Toro.
No, Robert Rodriguez produced the movie. However, James Cameron had the production rights for decades, right?
Yes,
he held on
to do it.
So he I think he first watched the anime, then was interested, got a hold of the source material, and was like, this,
and then waited until he got a
movie.
director who actually cared about enough to make it. Or sorry, producer actually cared enough to make it well.
No, I think part of the problem was that he was pushing and pushing and pushing. He couldn't get any production studio to actually pick this up. No matter what he tried, no one would pick this up.
It wasn't until he had such success with Avatar,
yes,
that people started taking him more seriously.
And the stupid thing was that this wasn't even considered for was it the Oscars or something like this, or when it made gangbusters, right? It was excluded from so many lists for top film for special effects or best story or best acting or whatever, right? It was completely ignored because the source material was from Japan, right?
It's so weird. So weird.
Yeah. People actually bought billboards in, billboard time in, I think it was Las Vegas, going Alita Battle Angel 2 when?
Oh, I think we had a news story about that recently where they teased that it might be coming. I can't remember when that was, but yeah.
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 But,
indeed.
Whereas the live action movie, such a close representation of the series, it's of the manga.
Yeah.
Yes, they did change things, but
yeah, they changed it mostly to fit it into a movie, because this is just that first arc before things really start kicking off.
Well, so in the first arc of the manga, none of the I can't remember what the sport's called. Sports ball, right? None of that appears in the first arc of the manga. It's in the second arc. But they brought it forward because, again, it's a better pacing. In the manga,
it's a narrative choice.
Yeah, it's a very linear mindset in the manga. This did a brilliant job, and not enough people give it the time of day. Right.
Also, I love the simple reason they changed the name around. It's because Cameron only makes movies that start with an A or a T.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So true.
So instead of Battle Angel Alita, it was Alita Battle Angel. I kind of enjoy that.
I think the original Japanese name, I think it's Gam or something like that. I can't, basically they named her Alita because they were like, this name is not going to translate well. It's not going to localize well for English audiences or Western audiences. So, and the author was like given a bunch of options, and he actually liked Alita the most. So we went with Alita.
Nice.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Yep. Right. So my next. Do you have any questions or anything, Nasuth?
No.
No, I recognize you're sat on the sidelines a lot. Okay, so can you think of any instances with an adaptation that diverge significantly from the manga, and as a result, it's not bad enough that they can't bring it back, but it's like, fucking, why did you waste your time on this?
Oh, this scene is so uncanny valley. Oh.
It is.
I think it's because it's closed.
I think a good one would be about half of the different adaptations of Berserk.
Right?
Because Berserk's a very iconic manga.
Mm-hmm.
And there are scenes in that are very, very difficult to animate, I would say, because the artist loves holding on stills or stretching the moment a bit. His action's fantastic. His action's always full-paced and full of action lines and everything, so that translates really well. But moments like this, gut squaring off, he'll hold on that in the thing with a lot of speech. Okay, he'll fill the sides of the panel with speech, or depending on, Nasuth, I said 8. If he'll take something incredibly iconic and just have it completely on its own. It's this moment in the snow with Guts and Griffith.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was right before Guts left.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, exactly. So
the audience probably doesn't, so it's a good thing you said that.
Yeah, well, this scene, the artist loves these heavily cinematic shots, but when you're reading it, you can spend as much time as you like looking at this. You can skip it or you can not. You can spend an hour trying to pick out all the details he's put in. But and it can be very difficult to animate. When you get some of the CGI one, which not many people like. Let's put it that way.
I liked the story, but I couldn't stand watching it.
It's very difficult to get it right, as it were. It's like people who try to do it, by and large, didn't get what the artist was trying to convey in the first place. So either the animation makes them look a bit too wonky, or they get the story wrong. They try to focus on the brighter stuff, and in Berserk there isn't. The whole point of the brighter stuff in Berserk is that it leads into the tragedy.
I have because I literally finished reading Magical Girl Spec Ops Oscar today, right? Like, yes. I was on the train, I finished it today. My next big thing to read is Berserk. But so I have loads of questions. Okay. I think the first question I want to ask is, why do you think the studios went from the traditional 2D to strictly 3D?
I think that, it's only been the one show, 2 seasons that were in 3D. Golden Age isn't actually 3D; it's just fully digital. Right. But I think they went with the 3D because it would be easier to texture it to make it look like the manga. But they didn't realize how weird that would look in motion.
Look at his upper torso here.
Yeah, you've got
They've
the
obviously
lines.
heavily muzzled him. They've tried to shade him in the 3D effect. They've tried to light him, and then they've put that crosshatched ink shading underneath.
Yes, yeah. But then look at her face,
working,
which is just kind of weird.
Yeah, it looks more traditional. They've got the crosshatch shading, but it's more traditional flat tone in appearance, and it just doesn't quite work. So
a lot of the still shots look good, but the motion is just off. I don't know what it is about it in motion that just makes it look wrong.
I think there was something really off about how they did it.
So do you think that they were reliant on too much of the 3D for the motion? They thought like, oh, let's do the motion, let's do it in 3D for the motion, for the combat and things like that. Or
could be they wanted to get the armor, because a lot of armor is much easier to maintain its fidelity when you zoom out in CG. So when you get a full 3D render of it, then it's more likely to retain its shades and shadows.
There's only so much detail you can draw in unless you start with a huge image and then, and
then pull out. So this way, they can have like the fretwork on her armor with the little leaves and things. And then when you pull out, if you were to zoom away from her, that would still be there because it's like vector work. It's just
you'd lose some of it to the the number of pixels allowed
to the actual pixel ratio, but it would look like it's there far more than if you try to draw it in by hand, because by hand you would have to try and fiddly around with the tiny little petals. So it's like working in pixel art. If you're working in pixel art that you're going to see the pixels of on a large scale, like the old original Mario, then you've got a limited amount you can work with. But once you zoom out a bit and use a bit of key programming, you can pixel art entire landscapes. In that sense,
So
it's all a matter of how much detail you're actually retaining.
So would you like to see? Because I don't know what the studios were that did the CG stuff compared to the 2D stuff. Would you like to see the 3D stuff have another attempt, or would you like them to just keep going, or neither?
I think that seeing the rest, I just want them to catch up to where the rest of the manga went.
Yeah, I'd like if anyone does it, I'd want the Golden Age arc group to do it. I think.
Yeah, every iteration I've seen of Berserk doesn't get much further than the first like arc or two after the eclipse. They haven't gone further. It's like if we only ever had a movie of the Fellowship of the Ring and we never got to see the next two. Okay, we know there's more story. They've not got to it. Nobody's published it, and nobody's animated it. I just want to get to the rest of the story because there are some huge things that happen in that manga.
There's actually a video game for the Dreamcast. Hey, remember the Dreamcast?
No.
That is set post-Eclipse and is actually pretty good and tells a lot more of the story than we've seen in any other visual medium that I'm aware of. And that's kind of depressing that a game for a defunct video game system has more story than anything post-Eclipse. Well, it's only really been on the one thing. Yeah.
Well, it's like Dreamcast did Sonic better than most of the other platforms ever did it since.
So, we were talking briefly about the CG and things like that. I actually want to pivot ever so slightly to something that God, it keeps on coming back to this. I feel like I got it on the brain. Goblin Slayer. One thing Goblin Slayer does really, really well is utilization of CG Goblin Slayer, right? So Goblin Slayer himself has a metric F ton of detail on him, right? like the bags.
Only in certain
straps.
scenes. Oh, you mean in general?
No.
Okay.
In general, like look
Yes.
at his butt. He's got a butt bag.
Yeah.
That butt bag has
And he's got the furry collar and the ribbon and a lot of intricate little things.
Exactly, right? And you'll find that if you watch the series, any shot where it's Goblin Slayer at a distance is CG.
Yeah.
Right? Any shot where you see a full body Goblin Slayer at a distance, it is CG. Any Goblin Slayer that's up close that you can see the blood
Like
dripping
this.
off his helmet, 2D animated. And I think that is a huge step forward, right?
Yeah, knowing when to use it.
Been seeing it. Huh? Yeah,
knowing
exactly.
when to
right?
use it. Yeah.
It's practical versus special effects,
Yes.
right? It's 2D versus 3D. We see time and time
The
again.
Jurassic Park effect.
What do you mean?
Well, anything that people could touch was modelled.
Oh yeah.
So the giant T-Rex head, everything there.
But the T-Rex itself, when you saw it in the long shots, was CG.
The Raptors, CG.
I mean, take into consideration, right, the year that came out and still how good it looks today.
Yep.
Right?
Because they knew when to use it.
No, not just that. Think about the rain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The CG T-Rex with rainfall.
Yeah.
Right? How and there's videos online of how they did it and things like this back in the day. Because you can't just okay, well, there was rain, but now we're going to simulate rain for that's hitting specifically just the T-Rex.
Yeah.
That isn't there. Couldn't do that back in the day.
No, that's because, do you know how I think they know how they did that one? Is because they had the big model head in the rain already, so they could actually look at how it hit that model for when they rendered the CG on the long shot.
I can't remember. They do. So there is a, because I love my Corridor Digital, there is a video on it somewhere that explains how it's done. But that's by the by. The whole point is,
I had to do it I had to do it in a single still image. I had to, for a thumbnail for Xeno, had to put Goblin Slayer into that scene as the T-Rex. And yes,
that was such a good
one. I managed it, but man, trying to get the rain onto them properly was a thing. And that's just in one still image. I can't even imagine how much effort went into it for the CGI movement.
So going back to the whole rigmarole about CG versus 2D, I think CG is fine. You just got to know when to use it. We've seen plenty of anime out there. You've seen that anime where you've had some character, some plot centralized character that is surrounded by, I want to say NPCs, they might as well be, by background characters that stand out more than staring at the sun, right? It's so glaringly obvious. Because more often than not, the CG characters are animated on 1s, whereas everything else that's of any relevance is animated on 2s. It's just like...
Well, sometimes even when they are animated on 1s, we've seen that in the new Gamera...
On 2s, you mean?
But yeah. Well, yeah. We've seen in the new Gamera thing, the monsters in the background of one particular scene were still animated on 2s, and so were the people... But it still just looked wrong somehow.
Yeah. Again, camera movements and things like that. It's really important to line up your camera movement. If you've got a camera moving through a 3D environment, you have to animate that camera movement on 2s, not on 1s. So if you've got all your characters, that's one of the biggest jarring things about...
And you have to match up the 2s as well, specifically.
Yes.
So the camera doesn't move across those.
Yeah. So again, it's really important because we've all seen. Well, I say we've all seen. People have seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where the camera movement is on 1s, but Miles' movement is on 2s, and it's only until he gets to a certain point in the movie where his movements are on 1s as well, right? And it's quite a cool thing, but at the same time, it's really jarring, right?
Yeah, but it's a great transition because every one of those in the when they're actually in the spider suits, the sudden smoothness.
Right.
They even did it with just the characters on that one, like Peter B. Parker. Whenever he puts on the suit, he gets slimmer.
But there's an important element to that, right? The important element is that you notice, right? You might not notice it consciously, but you definitely notice it subconsciously that there's a difference in animation. And they did it on purpose, right?
Yes.
Whereas when you see some anime where they've done this, it's just like, we didn't do this on purpose. We just didn't be,
we just wanted to save money. Yeah.
Exactly. It just feels jarring, you know?
So how does this discussion on CGI track back into the manga of Goblin Slayer?
Goblin Slayer.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't think it necessarily does. However, talking about the manga or manga of Goblin Slayer,
Asset 5.
So I personally, you know, I've read a lot of the Goblin Slayer manga itself. And it works. Like the anime adaptation is so faithful.
Exactly.
The only thing is, right? You know, you know how people complain about the first episode of Goblin Slayer, right?
It was even worse in the manga.
It was even worse in the manga. It was way worse.
TV can't show what the manga shows. It's as simple as that.
Well, I mean, if you want an audience,
for anybody watching this or watching along, if you're listening along, please bring this up, pop this up full screen so you can see this. Okay? There is so much detail in this image.
Oh yeah, look at the cross-hatching
Goblin Slayer alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm gonna bring it up.
I mean, things I point out would be these scratches and dentings on Goblin Slayer's helmet at the top, but also the way that when they've applied tone to the rest of him to make his armor look like not quite shiny, it's burnished but not proper on the chest plates.
Right here,
They've then outlined the scratches in negative tone. They've left them white on the left there. Now,
because they reflect more based on their angle and curvature.
So you wouldn't see the shadow like you do on the right here with the with those indents. You would see just where the outline of it catches the light from coming from the right, and just little bits like in his collar, where the collar itself isn't his armor. It's got the feathering, but it's also got a leather attachment for the collar going around, and so where it's sewn, they haven't put in the actual stitches, but they've actually gone in and hatched through the compression where the leather is being caught by the stitching to actually go up and down on that, which is a trick that I desperately want to include in my own artwork, and I haven't been able to. But this man is battered, he is bruised. But you look at the priest girl, compared to that, she's scared, she's dirty, but she's also still got the pristine robes, and it's a contrast between the fright on her face and how clean her robes appear to be.
I mean, I certainly feel that.
But even then, you've got the details of like the bend in her arm and the collar of her her shirt, and some of the way the hair is shaded as it goes over her back, and
I certainly feel that. I certainly feel that this is a series that is like. I actually, to be fair, I find myself more interested in shows that have good wartime tactics and things like this, good strategy to combat, than just like, he's like, did you just play 3 monsters on the same turn?
Oh god, yeah.
It's
I yelled louder so my power went up.
Yeah. So like, again, I find this really interesting because, again, Goblin Slayer, I'm surprised. I'm happy it got an adaptation. I'm happy at all it got an adaptation. because it is such an interesting story. They did change the order of events. So, for example, if you've watched the series, the attack on the farm happens before they go to the water town.
They also let him keep his helmet on when he's getting his armor fixed.
I'm pretty sure that's faithful. But the whole point is that it's really...
You said that, like, he wasn't wearing his helmet and nobody in the town could tell who he was.
In the manga.
In the manga, yeah.
Oh,
no,
sorry,
in the manga.
Yes.
In the manga, he had to, like, when he was getting the rest of his armor fixed, he also had to get his helmet fixed. And so he was going around town without his helmet.
That does ring a bell. Yeah,
and nobody could tell who the heck he was.
Since I've read it. It was a while since I've read it, but no, I could appreciate. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it as well. Like, you know, so yeah, because I think he says, like, I have walked around here without my helmet on before. It's like, bullshit, you have. But the thing is, like, he didn't have any of his equipment on at that time, so no one knew who he was.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so again, really, really faithful adaptation.
Yeah.
And
but this is the thing. You look at this the 2D animation here. It's not quite as detailed as it could be, right? But that's why it's important, as you mentioned, to keep the CGI for the long shots, because even this level of detail would not be possible once you zoom out further.
Yeah.
So, unless you have anything else you want to add, I want to pivot.
Go on.
Right. So, as we have thus far shown, we can see here we have the asset for Goblin Slayer. You know, very nice, high fidelity image work here.
Oh, no. Is he going to go the other way?
What?
I was going to say, are you going to go the other way to something really low fidelity?
No.
Okay.
No. Which will, again, we've got very, very high fidelity image. It's nice. It's clean. It's really well detailed. Even going as far as looking at the likes of Magical Girl Spec Ops Oscar. Again, very well done and everything. And we've also got Rising of the Shield Hero, which I personally prefer the anime version than this. But it's still nice and clean. Now, this probably is where NASA thinks I'm going. Problem I have with the likes of Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
It's very, you know, it's very rough, very brutal. It is very up to the imagination of how you interpret it.
Okay, right? All right. Okay, before you were showing that Berserk image, and you were like, "Oh, look at how clean it is." That was probably one of the cleanest images in Berserk. If Thaylien had pulled a different one, it would have looked a lot more like this.
That is why I showed it in specifics, because I was trying to make the point of how clean that image is.
Okay, I just wanted to add that as a point.
Fair enough. I'm glad that you have added that as a point. However, nearly all of Chainsaw Man looks like this. Nearly all of it, right? This is one of the most extreme examples, because I mostly wanted Chainsaw Man himself in it, but it is very, very guttural, the right term?
Visceral.
Visceral,
yes.
Whereas the problem with the anime is it's so clean.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is the I feel part of the problem. So I do like the Chainsaw Man anime. I am in love with the manga, right? I couldn't binge read the manga fast enough. I loved it. And I feel that a lot of the problem when it comes to anime adaptation is that with stuff like Chainsaw Man, where they leave it up to the imagination of the reader as to what environment things are going on in. You know, even Goblin Slayer, like there's very few panels where they depict the actual environment. You know, we have
can't
panels
get away with
like
that as easily in anime.
You cannot get away with it at all.
Well,
in
again,
anime.
I think that's why when we talked about the 2016 Berserk, again, I think that's why they did it, is because you can do some of, you can make backgrounds and stuff a little more easier, and you can add more of that visceral content because you're not having to hand animate it for every different angle and stuff. But the problem is, again, that it ends up looking bad. So I think if they'd done that for Chainsaw Man, we would be complaining even more about it.
What I love about this idea...
But you're right. You are right.
The manga leaves the areas, a lot of the area white, around the action, because Chainsaw Man, when he is the Chainsaw Demon, is about the action. It's specifically about how he hyper focuses on the fight and how he just digs in and everything becomes a bloodbath. It doesn't matter the backgrounds. He doesn't even, I bet even as a character, he doesn't even notice the backgrounds himself. So the anime is probably stylistically for that. And that's great, but you're right, you can't get away with that in anime. It's
not just that, but also the fact that typically the author of Chainsaw Man uses a lot of like fat lines, so to speak. So you can see a lot more weathering on a person's face, right? You know, you can see it conveys a lot more emotion in the eyes, right? This is brilliant. Like the angles, like alert, right? There's so much action going on in this one
foreshortening.
Still, yeah, exactly. You got foreshortening.
Even this, in a sense, you can clearly see the action the character's making.
Yes, but again, there's I feel like a lot is detracted between the anime and the manga, mostly because you don't have that guttural sense, right? You know, where his clothes are, you know,
ragged, torn.
Haggard. Yeah.
Yes. Bloodied,
rumpled
rags.
You know,
just disheveled,
torn to bits.
You know, like in this scene, like when you see Denji, kind of for the first time, he kind of has this expression of, you know, I'm going to pretend.
Depression.
No. I'm going to pretend that I'm beneath you, but in reality, like you're a piece of shit for abusing me, right? You can get that sense, but in this, it's so clean, right? Look at the shadows on his jeans; they're so clean. Look at the detailing on his shoes, so clean, and I feel that is one of the things that detracts from this. It works for the likes of Jujutsu Kaisen. It doesn't work for Chainsaw Man, right? And
Jujutsu Kaisen works because of the contrast between the characters when they start out and how they get in a fight. They get scuffed up in the fight, but they get injured in a fight, but they don't get beaten down to the point that Denji was. And yeah, you miss that. Again, this is almost like this is a Goblin Slayer and Berserk anime versus manga thing. They can't show on TV on anime some of the truly visceral stuff. I mean, yes, they've put a lot in, but I think if they were to put in everything that the manga artist did, it wouldn't pass the censors.
Well, they put in stuff that I didn't think would pass censor.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
I'm thinking more just like in general, just the again, the whole world just feels so much more bright and vibrant. Whereas like you look at the world of Goblin Slayer and it's so dank. There's this sub layer of dank, disgusting depression, right? Which is pretty much the entire time of Chainsaw Man, but it's just not reflected. I
would love it. I would love it if Chainsaw Man season 1, if they ever make a season 2, mind you, if Chainsaw Man season 1 was kind of bright, just so that season 2 could be that much darker. Like it would feel darker now that you've seen the world in a bright way. I don't know if they'd ever do that, but that'd be great.
I feel that.
Look at this. Yeah, this scene is. We needed more of stuff like this.
Yeah,
background scuffed, dirty, dank, but they can't have the main because they've got to show him moving. They can't put that much detail into him.
I mean, he's pretty scuffed on top, but not on bottom.
Yeah,
Just gonna point out that's
Although-
a CG. That's a CG
Yeah.
Chainsaw Man.
See.
I watched a thing where they were like, so they actually CG'd this Chainsaw Man, and then they special effects the blood and things on him with motion tracking.
They're getting better at that. Maybe it is time to bring back Berserk as a CG anime.
So instead of actually putting the blood splatter on the 3D model, they actually track the blood splatter onto the 3D model. So you might be like, well, what the fuck does that even fucking mean? It just means that when you've moved the model, you're actually re-rendering, you're recompositing the blood on the position that you think it should be, and it actually gives it a much better effect, right? You think it's more traditional 2D than it is actually 3D, so it works better. You know, your mind thinks it's 2D.
It looks like it's having to be drawn every time, just like you would in an actual...
Sort of. I like that because it means that it's similar to how you do action shots in movies like what's it? Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
All the shots there led the eye to the focal point of the next shot, especially in the action scenes where you see a motorbike fly over, and once you've reached that point, you see Max tracking that motorbike back and then firing at it. And when he fires at it in the next shot in that part of the screen, that's the guy falling off the bike, and your eye follows from one side to the other. You know? Okay.
No, I never realized that. That's
really good. It's a deliberate thing they put in there. So similar to that, if they're re-rendering where the blood splatters are on the model each time, your eye is probably tracking that blood spatter.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, and it looks right. Even where the 3D model might have concealed some of it, like with a leg movement, or it would have gone round the back of a leg because it was splashed there before. So it's really, really interesting. Again, I think another part of the problem with Chainsaw Man is you can't end it where you did, right, or where they did. And I think this is a common problem when it comes to any manga. I think the problem is that no matter what any anime, no matter what you're watching, you get to a point where it's just like, well, shit,
gotta end the season.
Give me more. Yeah, give me more. Like the plot twists in what would be season 2 of Chainsaw Man are just like, holy shit, right? And I don't know technically Chainsaw Man was a success to Mappa, but for all the effort that they put in, it was a marginal success.
Yeah.
It wasn't the gangbusters that fucking Jujutsu Kaisen is. Right? So, yeah. Does anyone have any further points?
No, I think I'm done for this.
Right? Okay.
Unless you've got the pivot.
So, right, the next one I'm gonna have is, do you have any instances of a change in an anime? You know of any instances, a change of an anime that effectively it gets adopted as the canon for the manga? I have one instance of this.
I have one for a piece of Western media, but
go on.
Okay, so when they were making 2001: A Space Odyssey, they were writing the book and making the movie at the same time. So in the movie, they ended up having the monolith in orbit around Jupiter because it made for a more visually interesting place, like backdrop. But in the book, it was actually around Saturn. But then in 2010, the sequel book, they retconned it to be around Jupiter because they went with the movie's version because it just was more well known. It worked out to be better with what they were doing. which was converting Jupiter into a sun. So they decided to go with that instead. So yeah, there you go.
Thaylien?
The only one I can think of is, I think it was the original My Goddess, Amagami-sama anime versus the manga, because I think there was something like the original manga artist didn't know what color to make the clothing of one of their characters. They designed a character that they had a great outfit for, but they didn't know what iconic color it was going to be. And when it came to the anime episode that introduced that character, the animators did that and showed it to the artist. It was go with it.
Yeah.
And then whenever he did color, splash pages for his artwork, it was the anime version of the color. I think it was God.
Been too long. So I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
It's been a while. It's been a long while. But yeah, some of them. Or was it? I think it might have been Erd's mother. Yeah. Either way, the anime original anime artist colored the character, and the manga author adopted it full time. So yeah, that's
Cool.
the only one I can think of.
So, there's actually technically two that I know of. Or, oh, that's right, you guessed it, the Guyver.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But this is actually the 1989 version of the Guyver. So, when the manga was being mangaed, brilliant timing. Guyver 2 was originally depicted to have the head that he has, but it was the same body as Guyver 1, right?
Oh.
And when the first OVA, or technically the second episode of the OVA came out, the studio had actually redesigned Guyver 2 to look substantially different from Guyver 1, he went, shit, that's really cool. I didn't actually think of making that drastic a change. So he went away and actually adopted those changes. I think he actually went back to the manga, and actually they did like updated panels and things where it was the new
cool
version of Guyver 2. But yeah, so the original design had him look like Guyver 1, just with a different design of head, right? And again, and this actually is what led on to the complete change of Guyver 3. So Guyver 3 was again completely different from Guyver 1. And he decides, like, okay, so Guyver 3 actually has 2 blades per arm. His head sensors are actually on the sides of his head as opposed to on the top and things like that. So, it was really, really interesting. But the other thing was there is an original OVA before this one called Guyver Out of Control. Right? It's sort of like a 30-minute OVA movie thing. So bad. But instead of actually having a male Guyver 2, they actually did a female Guyver 2. And they designed it and everything, but in volume, I want to say 28 or 29 of the manga, that Guyver makes an appearance. So again, the original author actually accepted this character, different origin, right? Different way of getting the Guyver, but actually accepted, like, this is how this is actually now character that's going to be
Guyver.
Yeah, exactly.
Death by Snoo.
Oh.
Oh, come on, tell me you wouldn't.
It definitely wouldn't. Anyway, because I know who the character's affiliated with.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so it's like, so I thought, again, it was very interesting to see that there was a positive reversal. So, the manga actually changed canonical events or changed canonical designs to what the anime had originally done.
Excellent. So, have you got another talking point for us, Xeno?
The only other one, I think one that is, I think we briefly talked about this, is where the anime does a slight change in from what the manga does, but it kind of makes it better, is actually Rising of the Shield Hero. So Rising of the Shield Hero season 1, fantastic, absolutely brilliant, right? But I started reading the manga for it, and it is so it's just not there, right? So, for example, the infamous moments in what's called Naofumi's life, where he's betrayed by Malty.
Yeah. No,
Malty.
Yes, Malty, because Malty's the younger
Bitch. I'll get it right in a second.
Yeah.
one. That thing right there. The irredeemable one.
When she gets betrayed, so when she betrays him, right? Effectively, they give a lot more foreshadowing in the manga. So in the anime, he basically goes, right, I'm going to put some coins in my shoe because just in case of emergencies, and then he goes to bed, right? And then he wakes up. He hears there's a racket from some city guards. And then he turns around and discovers all his stuff's gone. He then runs out to the corridor and is banging on Bitch's door. She doesn't answer. The city guard comes up. He says, I've been robbed, blah, 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 blah. And then he gets arrested. In the manga, however, he basically wakes up, finds his stuff's gone, the city guard break into his door and immediately arrest him. Right?
Okay.
The
So
pace...
he doesn't have time to panic, doesn't have time to be blind. He's completely blindsided,
Yes.
as opposed to being in a panic first and then it gets worse.
Yes, exactly. Right? And I feel that the great thing about the anime, I think the great thing about anything that's told over a period of time. So basically, with the what the fuck do I mean by that? Great thing about manga is that you can read it one panel at a time. You can read it one panel a day, right? It's at the rate of which you absorb it, right? And you personally control that. The thing about anime and any medium that is conveyed over a period of time is that it has to pace it well. Think about your favorite music, right? That could be ruined by speeding it up or slowing it down, right? Same can be said for pacing in anime. If you're not there, if it's speeding along too quickly, you're like, fuck, I can't absorb this, right? It's why a lot of the time I don't like it when content creators don't give any pauses at all to let the audience consume what the fuck was just said.
Actually, that's a really good point. So have you, I'm fairly sure I linked at some point, but have you actually watched the videos by Maxor?
I don't think so.
Elden Ring, Ultra Kill, Metal Gear Rising
have
Revengeance.
You linked us this?
I did a few weeks back.
I might have watched the Elden Ring one. I don't know.
So the thing that Maxor does is he overloads with his editing. He absolutely goes ham with every bit of he puts every joke, it just joke and joke and joke and joke and joke, and every joke is accompanied by like 4 images that he brings in, or like subtitle that he's decided to put in the Among Us font for some reason, or something like that, that every time you watch it you'll catch something else that he did, or you have to go back and pause it to see the things that he's loaded in. But even he will then finish his stream of jokes and cut to an interlude where he'll, like in Elden Ring, where he'll then do a montage of fighting the boss that is just musical coverage with the footage and his unique editing. Okay, he'll occasionally like break in something like, "Oh shit, where'd he go? Fuck!" and you know, he'll get hit from behind by Melania or something. You know, it's but he will give that mental break for people to digest how much they've just had front loaded into their brain.
Yeah.
So content creators need to do that.
Everyone needs to do that.
Even the most hyper frenetic editing style that I've ever seen, even they do it.
Yeah. Like it's quite funny because with Notice Me Senpai, like, people don't realize that even though Nasuth cuts out a lot of the filler stuff as part of the editing process, we turn something like a 40-minute episode down to like 33 minutes just by squashing the silences.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, you know,
but even then you leave a you know, a decent gap behind when you get rid of the silence. Like, it's, your silence goes down from like 4 seconds to a second and a half or something, you know, or whatever it is.
You still have to put the pause in there.
Yes, you still need at least some pause in there.
But even so, like the "oh god" and the laughing, right?
Yeah,
that's a good enough break to give people poise to actually, you know, refresh what the heck's just happened, right? But a lot of the time when you're being slammed like this, it's all about the fucking... And that's what I think season 1 of Shield Hero did extremely well. It fucking nailed the pacing.
Yeah.
Right? Something that we criticize continuously about the second season. Season 1...
Oh, God.
You thought, like, shit, what's happened? Like, you know, now Fumi's stuff's been stolen. My first question is, how the fuck did they get in there, steal his stuff without him noticing? Right?
Well, before you have too much time to think about that,
where's Multi?
Right? Yes.
Right? And then it's
you have no time to react, but you're also... Every event, leads in and builds up to the next one.
Naturally.
Yes.
Yeah. You are able to follow the train of thought. And then when it's a case of he's being tried for what he's being tried for, I'm not going to elaborate any further.
For his false accusation.
Yes, for his false accusation, when he's being falsely accused of stuff. It just stops.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what? You know? And again, it just gives you this opportunity. Pacing is so goddamn important, right? And I think that this is one thing that, you know, you can't really nail down when it comes to a manga. But the adaptation needs to nail it so damn hard. And again,
you can't control how fast somebody reads or how long they linger on a panel before they move to the next one, or, you know,
exactly.
But you can, assuming that the person doesn't pause the video, you can control that in an anime.
Yeah. So again, it is so important to get the pacing right, that when you have two characters facing off at each other, you hold it for just long enough, right? If you think that maybe that's too long, shave a bit of time off.
Yeah.
Right? Because if people are sat there like for 45 minutes watching paint dry, going like, when the fuck are they going to do anything?
Waiting for Goku to finish screaming.
Exactly. Right? So again, you know, I think this is an absolute brilliant adaptation. And some adaptations of anime are good when the source material is just fucking awful. Case in point, Skullman, right? We don't have any assets for Skullman. But one thing I will say, right? This is kind of my final thoughts. Even though my preference.
So you saying Skullman made me think you were talking about Overlord, because that one was also another one where the manga was better, wasn't it? Or at least explores the world
light
more.
Novels.
Yeah, okay.
I think the light novels, but
Okay.
But shit, you've completely
Sorry,
right,
Skullman.
So I will say this though, there is a very strong positive for anime for one simple reason, right? You know, to some degree, that anime is going to have either a good conclusion, an okay conclusion, or a what the fuck was that conclusion,
or no conclusion.
Right? No. It's typically no conclusion is an okay conclusion, right? Because it's just like, we're alluding to more. You may not get more, which is the suck part of it, but we're alluding to more. Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with manga, and I've had this happen to me a number of times now, is you get to the last volume, you get to the last page, and there's a letter from the author going, I can't be fucked to finish this anymore. Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Right. It happened with Skullman. It happened with Kurahime, another manga that I was reading. It just happens where the author just gives up because they're no longer interested.
Loses interest, loses faith. Yeah, I kind of wish that happened on one of the manga I'd read.
Yeah,
which is the Suzuna manga, which is an anime that's recently started airing, and it was one of those romance dramas that I shouldn't have started because I get way too deeply involved in those and keep reading and reading and reading. And this thing went on for a good 400, 500 chapters that I was reading as they were being released as fast as the scanlators could find it. And I shouldn't have. Yes, it ended up quite nice. Okay, it got me in the feels for the ending, but it was I shouldn't have started it. I should have just picked up another random fantasy.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things of I got too heavily invested in the drama, and it's made me stay away from the pure drama romance stuff ever since. Because as good as it was, as good as the ending was and satisfying, it's never going to do that to me as an anime. And no other manga is going to be worth that effort and emotional investment. It just doesn't. It put too much on me as a reader.
The other thing is, it could just be that the author goes like, yeah, I'm going to go on hiatus for the second time and not finish it.
Yeah.
Well, I almost had that with Bleach, with poor old Kubo going into the hospital to have his treatments, and basically having to rush the planned ending up, so he couldn't put as much into it as he wanted to. And that got a few fans going, what the fuck? But we could have not had an ending at all.
The big one for me is the Guyver, which doesn't have an ending at all. It's on 32 volumes, and it's just like, come on, finish it.
Or the ever popular, I'm going to die before I finish it.
Or the even more popular, hi, I'm Eiichiro Oda.
Yeah. Endings? What are those?
Who's that?
It's One
Piece.
I thought it was. I wasn't quite sure. But anyway.
Yes. I love the fact that 20 years later, from the Alucard, for the Helsinger Bridged one, 20 years later, did One Piece ever finish? Yes, it did, but now it's got a sequel called Two Piece.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you guys have anything else. Did you guys have anything else you want to talk about, or should we just move on with the rest of the show?
I'm good after this.
I kind of feel bad for Nasuth because he's just been sat there listening.
No, I've been able to hey, it's an episode where I'm not interrupting every 5 minutes. It's a good thing for the audience,
That is true. Right. Okay, right. So let's move on to. Right. So moving on to the supporter questions. Zrugal asks, how interested would you be in an anime made for VR similar to those 360 YouTube videos?
So what prompted this was we talking about the planetarium anime, and yeah. If I had VR, I totally would. The only problem might be...
Isn't there a director doing that?
Maybe.
What?
Isn't there a horror director doing that?
Maybe.
So somebody doing like a ghost stories kind of thing in VR. I'm sure we covered it on the news like a couple of weeks before we did the thing there on the planetarium one. And
maybe that does ring a bell.
They were worried about how it was going to be received because having it be in VR was very limiting, to the audience it could reach. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure that when he did sounds around you, that you could turn to follow them. Yes. Yeah. Which, is a whole immersive thing. Especially the
only thing I'd worry about is missing out on, if you're not looking the right way and you miss something that happens, is that going to affect your experience? Well,
that's the thing. It really would.
For a horror one, especially, yeah. Anyway.
I'm interested in this. Part of the problem though is I would rather it 3D so I could change perspective, so I could walk around the set. Basically, it's a glorified holodeck, right, from Star Trek, where I could walk and change my perspective and everything.
We want VR to be is a glorified holodeck.
Except for my living space is not. But regardless.
Yeah.
Right. So apparently, Zrugal also asks Asset 1.
Superpowers.
See it. Hang on. There you go. So always get good presence. Read 5 times faster. Shut up. Spell for 10 minutes so you can make other people shut up. You always give good presence. Breathe underwater. Insta kill only one person. 1 inch levitation. No fall damage. Banana duplication. Control your own emotions.
Now, this one seems like they're all roughly the same in terms of, good versus bad. But I know that Xeno would appreciate the shut up spell for 10 minutes.
Oh, I really
would. He'd also appreciate the read 5 times faster.
I really would.
But I'm going to go for the 1 inch levitation.
That's what I was thinking of too.
Because imagine the trolling you could do with high buildings.
Exactly. Because there's no fall damage.
And a lack of fall damage. And of course, you could make that 1 inch levitation be from your toes, so you can enter a room, kind of...
Keep posing for dominance. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially still levitation, so you could just go anywhere like you're already levitating anyway.
Yes.
You
could walk across water.
I'd be so happy not to have to use my legs.
Yeah. So it wouldn't need to breathe underwater because you never have to go underwater. You could just go.
You can go around lying down if you want. I mean,
yes, you could speed slide.
Exactly.
So
Warframe.
Okay. So listen. Hear me out. Okay. Insta kill only one person, right?
Oi.
Right. So people know I have this power, right? So I could insta-kill anyone, right?
So is this a better shut up for 10 minutes spell?
Yeah! It's just like, you don't want to fuck with it.
But I assume the shut up for 10 minutes is reusable, so you could just keep recasting it every 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yes, but this is also do what I say for 10 minutes.
But this is a complete nuclear deterrent, right? Because... I could just name anyone.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, here's the thing.
Once.
It's like the old... It's
he can't get us all. He can't get us all. Rush him!
Yes. So who wants to be first and only?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm sure you could convince some Marines to do it.
Submarines?
Marines.
Submarines.
I like the idea of submarines.
Submarines. You get some submarines to do it. Well, that's only if you breathe underwater.
Alrighty.
Anyway, so next, level 1 Nasuth Lord asks, let's put a twist on an old question. What piece of Western media, book, show, comic, movie, whatever, would be better as a manga?
Ooh.
Harry Potter.
Anything from Marvel. No.
Harry Potter.
Darkman.
Think of-
Darkman. I love Darkman. It's such a silly movie series. The first one's honestly really good, but then they just get silly.
M. Night Shyamalan's version of Avatar, The Last Airbender. Because that way we could burn it.
What would be better?
There was also a show on Sci-Fi called Dark Matter, and another one called Killjoys. Both.
Oh
better.
god, I know Dark Matter. Yeah,
Dark
I
Matter
know
was
of even
so
better
interesting.
one.
Stargate SG-1.
Nah,
The
yeah.
Bible.
The Bible.
The Bible.
Hasn't that already
Do
been
you
done?
not want to? Do you not want to see Jesus
young men
cursing
sing-
out
young
an
Saint
olive
men?
tree for not being in season
Ugh.
No,
in an anime scene, like a JoJo scene?
no, it's manga.
I think just like a JoJo scene in a manga. So you don't want to see Jesus cursing out a shrub for not having fruit.
I'd
on
like
it
to see a
because it's not one
JoJo
season.
Jesus crossover.
Jesus
Yeah, that's a
Taro
good one.
Cujo.
Well, he was a stand user. That's
Yeah.
how he beat
Yeah.
the Pillarman.
Carbon Knight asks, which of your fellow streamers would you turn into an anime waifu, and why would it be Nasuth? Is this the Yes and show? I don't feel this is the Yes and show.
Oh no, I
Do
would
we-
definitely turn Nasuth into the waifu in this particular case. Because
Nice.
A, detachable head, B, soft silky scarf body.
True. Very true.
Think what you could do with a
It's
detachable
very
head,
true.
you know.
It's very true.
As an anime waifu.
Okay, so first off, that is a concern. B, that's like an even bigger concern that Nasuth is agreeing with you.
Well, the man's got a point.
I wouldn't. Could you imagine how popular the show would get if Nasuth was a proper anime waifu?
I should talk to King about getting a girl version.
Anyway, so
Get one of those
let's
voice
move
before you
on.
get the
soul frame version.
We're done. We're done with the spoiler questions. It's time to move on to the comments. So, first from the news,
These are
Zerul
from
says,
you, the audience. Thank you so much.
Yep.
We do appreciate all of you.
We read them all.
I
So-
live on comments. I eat them. I put them in my mouth.
He does. He chews them out and spits them out and then chews them up again and swallows deep. Anyway,
Ew.
so first from the news, as we said, hey, you were down for having your head detached and letting Thaylien play with it. I mean, like, you got no...
It's already
criticism.
detachable.
It didn't have to be me.
Anyway...
Just the fan
Anyway,
fiction.
so first comments from the news. Rugal says, an anime created to be filmed in a planetarium. That's a really cool idea. I completely agree with that. Strong Michelle says, never actually watched the Cowboy Bebop movie. I should really do that.
Yes, you
I
should.
hope
You should.
the
Yes, you should.
impact of Typhoon Lan isn't too bad. Didn't realize Attack on Titan hadn't finished yet. So yes,
No, it's
the
not.
Cowboy
No,
Bebop
it's
movie.
not.
The Cowboy Bebop movie is fucking fantastic, and realistically, I wish the rest of the show was like it.
Mhm.
Right, and now we're going to go on to the comments from
Kanpai Cast.
what's it called, the cast itself. So Strong Michelle says first, okay, this is going to be a sticky topic, isn't it? Okay, not too sticky.
No, I think we did
Pretty
good.
sure. Pretty sure perjury is a crime. Glad you guys fact checked. This is a bit of a heavy topic, but it was a good listen. Good on you, gents. Zerugel says, this kind of reminds me of a D&D trope of people...
Troop of people.
No, troop. It is a troop, yeah. Of people getting really upset when someone plays an evil character and says, but you wrote the character, so you must be evil. Okay. Personally, I don't agree. But on the other hand, you can't just excuse any behavior as that's just what the character would do. There's a line somewhere in there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest problems with D&D is the propensity for people to do something and say, it's what my character would do, as an excuse, that they would go and murder Hobo. It's what my character would do. We don't care. D&D is a cooperative game. You've got to play and be there in the moment with the rest of your cast and actually play with people as a role play. And
I get,
but at the same time, evil characters do exist, and playing a legitimate evil character,
it just makes it hard to work with a party of not evil people. The rest of your party's probably going to murder you at some point as the evil character.
Not if they don't realize you're not doing this stuff.
Okay, fair. But if they figure it out, then they're probably going to murder you.
Yeah,
you take your risks.
Only if they're very badly written. I mean, you can be an evil character, but in a way of you will have a similarly aligned goal, so they wouldn't murder you if they are well-played good characters, because they would need you to get by for the rest of the quest.
In one of the last D&D games I ever played, I played a Dread Necromancer, and one of my friends played a cleric, and though necromancy is deemed evil, I was was I true neutral or chaotic neutral? Like I was neutral, right? I was not evil in the slightest.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
No, but the whole point is that the other character didn't know how to fucking deal with it. It's just like, that's just like, In
the case of first degree murder, I hope that you can present your first witness. I raise the deceased. That kind of chaos. That got him. The other one is, you should have, at some point, if you're playing with a cleric, you need to tell them, I am being a cleric. I'm just post-mortem. I'm just really late at healing.
Yeah. Struggle also says, I remember that quest from Mass Effect. I remember it kind of blew me away because in the game, when you first free the girl, she's upset with you because she still had the debt. It challenged me. Which is what
good art should do.
Right. I would argue in favor of Nasuth. Kugame treats Inuyasha like a servant, trying to avoid the other world. So word in case you yeah. You guys did a great job staying respectful to this topic. Good job, thank you.
Glad we managed to do that.
Right, so moving on to the memes. So all these memes come from Reddit to some degree or another. You can find all the links for the memes in the description below, as long as they're still on Reddit, because sometimes they just disappear. We release memes daily on Twitter, I think. I have not been on top of that.
Yep.
I've missed a few days, but I'm back on it.
Okay. We've also got memes on
aren't
Discord.
We all on Blue Sky now.
We are all on Blue Sky. Kanpai Cast is not on Blue Sky as of yet.
It will be soon.
Okay.
But we're also looking to expand into the likes of Tumblr as well.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So yes.
Because of a certain sinking ship.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yes.
So let's move on to the memes.
We are the rats. And we have, I think, a couple of submissions from the viewers that submitted it on our Discord.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let's get into those.
And thank you to Virgil for compiling these so we didn't have to see them. An average guy living in the city gets a powerful item stuck in his back, resulting in him crossing the paths with a mysterious punk named Lucy, who introduces him to a group of wacky new friends, all while they evade the authorities in a fight against the gigantic mega corporations that own the world. They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Motherfucker, Lego stole the plot from Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
How could they?
Sons of bitches.
Outrageous.
Absolute sons of bitches.
Me being a fan of every single IQ.
Oh,
he's just really supportive. He's just really supportive of the sport.
Wow, that is brilliant.
Go Sportsball.
Oh dear, and now on to mine. I'm a walking red flag and proud.
Yeah, well, yes, they are.
Oh god! I just realised who the bottom middle is. Okay. I don't know who the top right is, but anyway.
Some of them are more blood red than others.
The boss when you fight him, and the boss when you unlock him as a playable character, an oldie but a goodie.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep.
My subordinates always ask me, Einsamma, how do you think of that? How did you think of that marvelous plan? And I always say the same thing. What plan?
Brilliant.
I was reincarnated as a crab in a world where I am their only food source.
Oh dear God. Oh no.
This is not a Vor joke, is it?
Oh no. Oh no.
God creates humans. Humans create anime. God, I should have made a sandwich instead of making you.
Here's a little lesson in trickery.
and my sixth meme. You capture girls for sexual pleasure. I capture girls for desecrating my religion. We are not the same.
I'm glad this got Xeno so much.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that one.
Oh, alright, Thaylien. Here we go.
Bocce the Rock. Bocce the Rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A trap made by normies. A trap made by supreme beings. One of them is super effective. That's not a well-written character. That's just a really strong character. I don't understand the difference.
Oh my god. Yep.
Hey, little man, how's it going? Talking to anime. So, well, Scott Pilgrim, Haika, Panty Stocky, Lazarus Uzumaki. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
You heard about ear blushing, hair blushing, butt blushing. Now behold, feet-chan blushing.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? What the fuck? I didn't even know butt blushing was a thing. My god.
So
my
far behind
goodness.
on memes, Xeno. Bro, I swear I'm not dense. Also my friend.
Oh, this is such a good scene. This show. I need to finish this show. Yep. And that's that show for you.
And everybody watching at home.
Yep.
Right, so moving on to my memes. So first meme, regular memes. Anime memes! Yep.
I don't know if that's true,
Not wrong.
but sure.
Right. Also, why do you have every single anime reaction image? God! Yep. When you win the game and the enemy types GG in chat.
Nice.
Oh,
Yep.
regular blushing.
The ocean in real life.
Yes.
The ocean according to
Yes.
me.
Yes, 100%.
Go right on a bunch of aqua.
Yep. Anime isn't like reality. Okay, then explain this. Happy birthday to me.
So mean.
Oh, it's so mean.
Is this
It's
my
so
last one?
true. Yes, this is.
Okay. Since you're so dense, I'll spell it out for you. I like you. Me. I have no time for your riddles.
Oh my god. Oh, so mean and so true.
Right. Okay, so that is it for this week's episode. Next week's episode, fuck knows. We haven't planned that far ahead. I actually got to do the fucking anime versus manga one. So, like, fuck. Anyway, but that's it. Thank you very much for watching / listening. And now it is time to something. What? Will you stop editing this?
I forgot to fix this. I forgot to fix that.
Again, right. It's time to bottoms up and Kanpai!
Kanpai!
Kanpai!